Hi, my name is Dr. Nicolaus McFarland. I'm an associate professor of neurology at the University of Florida and director of the UF PSP Atypical Parkinson's program. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the MSA Coalition Center of Excellence Initiative. The purpose of this initiative is to designate centers of excellence in MSA as primary hubs of care, support, education, and research for MSA patients, caregivers, and allied health partners. Our vision was to create a national and ultimately international network of MSA centers of excellence that will improve access to clinical care, support services, education, and clinical research. We've set out a mission to designate and foster centers of excellence for MSA that provide comprehensive interdisciplinary care for MSA patients, including support, outreach, education, and cutting-edge clinical research opportunities. So what are some of the goals and objectives for these centers? Well, first, we set out to establish best practice and standards for MSA care, including a multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary care model. Second goal was to really increase access to services for MSA patients, both nationally and hopefully internationally, to improve access to research trials and collaboration among centers, to designate and support these centers, as well as to develop some outcome measures, hopefully with a goal of ultimately to improve the quality of life for MSA patients and care partners. In this slide, I show you an example of how MSA Centers of Excellence would be organized and show you some of the key pillars. On top of these pillars is the primary neurological site. Each center should be a site that's accessible to MSA patients, ideally either academic or could be also private, and have a patient base of at least 25 patients, MSA patients annually, and sufficient space and resources. On top of these pillars is also the clinical director. The clinical director should be an established neurologist with MSA and ideally autonomic expertise, leadership in MSA, time commitment, and institutional support. So I list also strategic pillars below. These first include the clinic manager, the point person to coordinate scheduling for patients. Patient visits can be quite complicated and include not only the primary neurologist, but also subspecialists as well as supportive care, including the rehab team and social worker, etc. Case manager is needed for each site. Someone who can help track cases, coordinate support for patients and caregivers, and provide counseling as needed certainly would be a plus. Case managers are often social workers, but don't exactly have to be. Clinical services is also another key pillar. It should include nursing, the rehab team, social worker, subspecialties, as well as ancillary testing listed below. Research likewise is a key pillar and should include participation in clinical trials, providing opportunities for both drug trials as well as possibly even biomarker research. It should include a research coordinator and opportunities for collaboration among centers. Education outreach is clearly important for centers and should start with education of our fellows, residents, and also medical students. There should also be education of the lay public, which includes possibly adding a support group or outreach to other centers, and possibly a telemedicine program. Finally, each center should also have institutional support and commitment shown. The MSA Coalition cannot possibly support all centers or provide funding for the entire initiative. Each center will be expected to provide some buy-in and demonstrate some support or funding for their program. So what are some of the components of multi or interdisciplinary care for MSA? First off, of course, starts with the primary neurologist. The case manager comes next, which may be social worker or a nurse, and the rehab specialty team, which should include physical, occupational therapy, as well as speech language pathology. Should be access to swallow testing at centers of excellence, which includes video fluoroscopy, or modified barium swallow. Centers may also include components such as a registered dietitian to help with nutrition issues, as well as access to multiple consulting physicians. Now, these may include a cardiologist with autonomic specialty, GI specialists with expertise in motility, urologist, sleep, pulmonary, or ENT specialists to help with sleep disorders, as well as breathing issues. Ophthalmology can be key for visual issues and may include subspecialist neuro-ophthalmologist. Psychiatry is critical to help with mood issues such as depression and anxiety. Neuropsychologists are extremely important to assess memory and thinking and can be helpful for patients who may also have a component of progressive dementia. PM&R stands for physical medicine and rehabilitation. This subspecialty is important for mobility as well as pain management. As MSA progresses, palliative care team is likewise critically important and may include also hospice care. Sites should also include access to ancillary testing such as MRI or brain imaging, autonomic lab, urodynamics, GI motility, or sleep testing. Now, not all of these services may be accessible at this or on site, but should be accessible either at the institution or nearby. A research coordinator is also critical, as mentioned before. Now, this is a lot for patients to undergo, and ideally, it will be important for each center to coordinate visits with these specialists, altogether mindful of fatigue. Here in this slide, I show a diagram of how each of the different disciplines surround the patient. In the center is the patient and care partner, the son, and each of the core services surround the patient. Likewise, on the outer ring includes support services, subspecialty services, and ancillary care individuals. Now, as disease progresses, however, some of these subspecialties or ancillary service may actually gravitate towards the core area. Likewise, some of the core will move out and become less important during disease progression. MSA research mentioned as a key pillar and part of the Center of Excellence. Clinical research and opportunities to participate in MSA trials should be part of each Center of Excellence. This will require a designated research coordinator or coordinators. Each site should show clinical trial involvement and will be tracked based on their recruitment numbers. Outcome measures may also include grants and publications. Likewise, the initiative will be looking for collaborative efforts in basic science, translational studies, possibly biomarker efforts, or even brain bank donations, but will vary based on sites. Support, outreach, and education are critical for MSA. Each Center of Excellence should have annual demonstration of MSA support and outreach in sense of meetings, symposiums, support groups, or other activities. Here I list also inclusion of a telemedicine program. Many of our sites developed telemedicine programs in the COVID pandemic and continue to use telemedicine. Here at our site, we use telemedicine to reach out to patients who have increasing difficulty coming to our clinic or maybe at a very far distance to our site. Many places, folks are 2 to 6 hours away from the University of Florida, for instance. The telemedicine program or outreach program can also be useful to reach out to our general neurologists as well as other MSA partners, including rehab and home health care or even nursing facilities outlying, and provide educational materials, seminars, or other activities. Centers of Excellence help other centers via a hub and spoke model. It's demonstrated here. So lastly, I want to talk about the plan for Center of Excellence designation. We plan to have an application that will likely be online and an annual invitation with a deadline. Centers of Excellence designations will likely be 3 years and annual progress reports required. Designation of sites, designated sites will be placed on the MSA website, coalition website, to help with recruitment and to help patients find centers of excellence for care. There may be future levels for centers of excellence depending on patient load, activity, and excellence. Funding will, of course, be based on the number of centers and available funds, as well as review metrics annually. So I hope you enjoyed that overview of this MSA Coalition Center of Excellence initiative. I wanted to just take a few minutes to talk about our center at the University of Florida. This is just a picture of the UF Health Norman Fixel Institute for Neurological Diseases that opened in 2018. We moved from on-campus to off-campus, making things much more easier for patients to access. As you can see, patients can drive up to the front of the door and get out, as well as park right in front of the center. And it's a bright and open area, a clinic for patients, even with an area on the back side of the clinic for relaxation. Certainly a center of excellence can't function without a team. It really takes a village. This is just part of our large team at the University of Florida, directed by myself, but includes many of our excellent co-specialists. Here, Dr. Weimers is shown here, who is our neuromuscular division chief and runs our autonomic lab. Dr. Amaris joined our clinic. He is an expert in GI motility. We have a crack rehab team that is led by Lisa Warren, shown these number of individuals, and our clinic manager, Melissa Himes. Our clinical trials is directed by Julie Segura. We are really lucky to add a few extra members recently. We added a second full-time social worker, Alana McKay, who's been a wonderful addition to our clinic, and a new neurogenetics counselor, Lee Kugelman. Matt Beakey is one of our registered dietitians. And then Charles Jacobson, listed in the bottom here, he's been a key member of our center for over a decade, managing our clinical research database. Has been really outstanding. Here's just a view of our rehab site. This is on the far side of our clinic and includes 4 large areas for rehab assessments and an outdoor area, which has various different surfaces for patients to walk on. We also have a automated gait map for measuring gait disorders shown here. So I just wanted to give you an overview. And lastly, just wanted to thank everybody who's part of the Fixel Institute and plays a role in the center. I also want to take a moment to thank the MSA Coalition and the Medical Advisory Board, who spent a lot of time putting together this MSA Center of Excellence initiative. Thank you again for your time.